Ever wonder why two people follow the same program but one gains twice the muscle? Hi, I'm Ashmit Roy. I'm a sophomore at California High School. Right now I'm presenting from San Ramon, California, and personally I'm fascinated by the human body. This presentation will be an integrative review of genetic and non-genetic factors influencing human skeletal muscle hypertrophy. I worked on this project through Polygence with my mentor Laura Johnson, who gave me invaluable guidance and support from start to finish. Now let's go back to that question. Why do two people who follow the same training program, but one grows significantly more muscle? Well, that sounds interesting, maybe even a little bit unfair. Is it diet, sleep, or something deeper like our genes? First, let's quickly define muscle hypertrophy. Muscle hypertrophy or growth is the increase in size of muscle fibers. This occurs when muscle protein synthesis exceeds muscle protein breakdown, and this process is influenced by many factors from training to hormones. Now we could go back to our question. The answer to that question is my central thesis. How much muscle you actually put on is determined by your genetics and your environment. Although muscle growth ultimately comes down to the balance of muscle protein synthesis and breakdown, genetics and your environment greatly influence this. Even though those two guys followed the same training program, one of them clearly had either a more optimal environment for muscle growth, better genetics, or a combination for both. Throughout the rest of this presentation, we will dive deeper into these key factors, both genetic and non-genetic. First up, let's look at the genetic factors. First up, we have the MSTN gene. This gene codes for the myostatin protein, which limits muscle growth. In different people, this gene is more or less active, with more activity resulting in decreased muscle growth and less activity resulting in more muscle growth. Rare mutations can lead to uncontrolled muscle growth, as seen in this breed of cow called the Belgian Blue. While myostatin acts like the brake on muscle growth, IGF-1, or insulin-like growth factor 1, is the accelerator. When IGF-1 levels rise, they activate a signaling cascade, the AKT-mTOR pathway, which drives protein synthesis and ultimately muscle hypertrophy. If you look at this diagram here, you can see how this works step by step. IGF-1 activates AKT, AKT then signals to mTOR. You can think of mTOR as the master regulator of protein synthesis. That chain of events leads directly to protein synthesis, stimulating the muscle growth. Now, genetic variants can raise IGF-1 levels, giving some people a head start. These individuals may regenerate tissue faster and respond a lot better to high-load exercises. And that's sort of the genetic side to IGF-1. Next, we have the ACTN3 gene and the androgen receptor gene. ACTN3 encodes alpha-actin 3, and the R577X polymorphism of this gene influences the efficiency of fast-twitch muscle fibers, which is associated with muscle power and explosiveness. The R allele is linked to increased explosiveness and power, while the X allele eliminates the protein altogether, making the muscle more slow twitch. The androgen receptor gene is another key modifier. CAG repeat lengths affects receptor activity, and therefore the muscle sensitivity to the anabolic effects of androgens such as testosterone. The shorter the CAG repeat length, the more sensitive the muscle is, and vice versa. This ends my short list of some of the most important genetic factors when it comes to impacting muscle hypertrophy in humans. Now we will move on to the environmental factors. In this section, I will be talking about resistance training when I mention exercise, because it's the best form of training for muscle growth. The key behind all muscle growth is mechanical tension. When we lift weights against resistance, the muscle fibers experience an internal strain. This strain is sensed by specialized mechanosensors within the muscle cell, which then activate growth pathways such as the mTOR pathway, ultimately leading to muscle protein synthesis. But to optimize your results, you need progressive overload. The primary principle of resistance training is to continually challenge the muscle by gradually increasing the load or volume. You can do this by increasing repetitions, weight, or both. Without this progression, muscles simply just adapt to the stress, and growth plateaus. Resistance training is by far the most effective way to build muscle and longevity. Next, we have sleep. Sleep is one of the most underrated factors in muscle growth. During deep sleep, the body releases the majority of its growth hormone, which is essential for tissue repair and recovery. This is also when the body enters an anabolic or muscle building state. Without without enough sleep, the balance dips towards catabolism or muscle breakdown. This one night of sleep deprivation can lead to an 18% decrease in muscle protein synthesis. On top of that, quality sleep helps maintain the optimal hormonal levels, such as testosterone, and keeps cortisol, the stress hormone, in check. Finally, proper rest reduces both physical and mental fatigue, allowing you to train harder and recover faster. In short, if you're constantly sleep deprived, muscle growth will be far from optimal. Now let's talk about nutrition. Nutrition is one of the main pillars of muscle growth. Protein is the building block, supplying the amino acids needed to repair and rebuild the muscle fibers after training. To maximize muscle growth, ideally aim for around 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight each day. Quality matters too. Sources like lean meat, dairy, eggs, and whey provide all the essential amino acids needed for muscle protein synthesis. Carbohydrates are also important. They replenish glycogen, fueling intense workouts and preventing the body from breaking down your muscle into energy. Also, micronutrients like vitamin D, zinc, magnesium, and several others also support muscle growth. These nutrients provide the raw materials your body needs to build muscle and grow stronger. Next, we have hormones. Hormones play a central role in regulating muscle growth. Testosterone is a primary anabolic hormone. It stimulates protein synthesis and is a major driver of both muscle and strength. Growth hormone also promotes muscle growth and repair by stimulating protein synthesis and even enhancing muscle recovery. Much of its effect is carried out through IGF-1, which we talked about in the genetic factors. This is a hormone that activates satellite cells and supports hypertrophy by reinforcing growth signals. On the other hand, cortisol has the opposite effect. It's catabolic, or muscle breaking hormone, that increases with stress. Persistently high levels of this hormone can break down muscle proteins and limit growth. Here's a simple diagram showing the anabolic and catabolic hormones and what they do. Altogether, these hormones and their balance in the body determine how effectively muscles grow. Lastly, we have age. Age has a powerful impact on muscle growth. One of the key impacts is sarcopenia, the progressive loss of muscle mass, strength, and function that can reduce physical independence in older adults. Another factor is anabolic resistance. As we age, muscles become less responsive to stimuli like resistance training and protein intake, making it harder to activate muscle protein synthesis. As we age, we lose satellite cells, the stem cells that help muscles repair, and fasters muscle fibers, which provide power and strength. Together, this reduces our ability to recover and maintain our physical performance. Here we can see a graph showing the loss of muscle mass throughout aging. The higher line shows the loss of muscle mass of individuals who are still trained and are still active, while the lower line shows individuals who live a more sedentary lifestyle. We can see a larger decrease in the muscle mass for those who are sedentary. These age-related changes show the importance of consistent training as you age, because it helps mitigate these negative effects of it on your muscles. So ultimately, genetics set the baseline, and an environment shapes the outcome. Diving deeper into this, genetics influence muscle growth by providing the inherent blueprint that determines muscle factors like muscle fiber composition, hormone levels, response to training, and how much muscle mass you could actually potentially hold. Environmental factors, on the other hand, influence muscle growth by providing the external stimulus, such as resistance training, nutrition, and recovery, that influences the underlying biological processes actually responsible for muscle growth, such as muscle protein synthesis. You can think of it like your genetics set your potential, and your environment decides if you ever truly reach this potential. However, if you want to gain muscle, bad genetics don't mean the end of the world. It's your consistency and your effort that actually makes that difference. All right, now looking forward, we have further implications. There are many ways this knowledge can be used. Most importantly, it can be used for personalized training and nutrition. Taking genetic and lifestyle factors into account can help produce better results in training and nutrition programs. It can also help provide aid to aging populations. Strategies to preserve muscle function and mitigate muscle wasting diseases like sarcopenia could extend independence and improve quality of life. It could also help raise awareness for future ethical concerns. Gene editing is in the near future, and abusing this tool to manipulate genetics to, for example, earn an unfair advantage in sport raises concerns. These concerns could possibly be addressed with good understanding of genetic factors influencing sports performance and etc. Ultimately, understanding these factors gives us the tools not to just optimize individual growth, but to advance in health, technology, and ethics for the future. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this presentation gave you all a better understanding of the factors that influence muscle hypertrophy. These are my references.